Each day on Idaho Matters, through a wide range of topics, you'll hear from neighbors and friends about the ever-evolving social and cultural landscapes of Idaho. Listen to the Idaho Matters podcast at boisestatepublicradio.org today.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho's daily news. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. We have an air stagnation advisory in effect. We've got details on that. Also, you may have heard about something called PFAS, called forever chemicals, and how much of them are in our water supply. We'll tell you about that. There is a scathing new report on Idaho's accounting and procurement software program. It's called Luma. And we've got something called the Dare to be Square dancing. We've got that as well. It is Friday, the 8th of November, and here are today's stories. An air stagnation advisory is in effect for much of the region. Dave Grainert is over at the National Weather Service office.
For an air stagnation advisory, we're looking at stable conditions that don't allow much mixing. So anything near the surface kind of gets trapped near the surface. So our mixing heights, from the surface to about 2,000 feet above the surface. So all of the air is kind of trapped in that layer.
How does that manifest? It's a little hazy?
Right. There's going to be very little circulation. Without the mixing, you're not going to be able to really clear it out. And we have light winds as well. So with the light winds and the low kind of capped, mixing heights, we're not really seeing much in the way of air movement.
Dave Grainert at the National Weather Service office. A new study shows 20% of Americans might be drinking water contaminated by PFAS. You may have heard that they're called forever chemicals, and they're linked to cancer. Caleb Radel reports.
Companies use PFAS in everything from nonstick pans to fast food wrappers. The man-made chemicals don't break down in the environment. When these items end up in landfills, they can leach into groundwater supplies, including those used for drinking water. The U.S. Geological Survey found that up to 95 million people rely on contaminated sources in both urban and rural areas. That includes more than 1 million people in New Mexico and more than 500,000 people in Idaho and Nevada. Report author Andrea Takronov says many states test their groundwater supplies for PFAS.
But it's not necessarily equal across all states. And also domestic well owners or private well owners are oftentimes not having the same access to testing as people who are on public supply.
She notes the contamination detected is before the groundwater is treated as a safety measure, but PFAS could remain in drinking water at low levels, posing a health concern. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Caleb Radel.
A scathing new report has uncovered significant, ongoing, and costly problems plaguing Idaho's accounting and procurement software, problems that continued since its launch nearly 18 months ago. James Dawson reports.
The Idaho State Controller's Office implemented the program Luma in July 2023. The report from the Office of Performance Evaluation found problems even from the beginning, when the agency began shopping for Luma in 2018. The Controller's Office gave staff just 3 weeks to analyze and score more than 2,500 pages of technical documents on top of their regular duties. The report says the agency never interviewed key contractors it hired to implement the system, who have since been replaced. State workers struggled with the complicated software for months after its launch, which leaders within the Controller's Office chalked up to a lack of training and resistance to change. The majority of 2,200 state employees recently surveyed told investigators Luma still spits out inaccurate data, and training materials aren't updated when the state implements software changes. Some legislators have suggested scrapping Luma, which has cost the state $117 million so far. The State Controller's Office said it largely agrees with the report's findings and is working to fix Luma and rebuild trust with employees. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Square dancing is an American tradition with at least two couples dancing together to form a square. This weekend, a festival that usually convenes in West Coast cities is coming inland. As a matter of fact, they're coming to Boise for the first time. And Arlie Sommer brings us that story.
Grab your partner with an elbow swing.
Dare to Be Square West gathers dancers and old-time musicians from across the region annually to learn how to call dances, jam, and enjoy carrying on this historic and community-centered art form. Dancers will swing their partners and do-si-do at the Shrine Social Club and other venues today through Sunday. Ava Honey is a local musician, dancer, and caller. She helped bring the festival here.
Boise is just a little bit farther away, but we also have so many community members in Salt Lake and Wyoming and Montana that I think could really be an amazing event and also really pump up the energy here.
Honey started her square dance caller journey at Dare to Be Square Seattle 14 years ago and now holds regular square dances in Idaho with her band Idle Time.
Old time music is a traditional style of music that comes from the Appalachian area of the United States and is here from all over the world. The marriage of old time music and square dancing is really bringing community all together.
Old time music bands from Alaska, Oregon, and Idaho will perform, as well as square dance caller teachers Phil Jameson from the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina and Susan Michaels from Washington State, both considered legendary by the square dance community.
So you can show up and really not know anything at all and have the guidance of a caller to walk you through the steps.
Anyone can come, whether you're into square dancing or not.
Politics and religion and social beliefs really don't come on the dance floor. It's amazing. It's humanity at its best.
There will be workshops the whole weekend for any age. The public can also attend dances and concerts each evening. Arlie Sommer, Boise State Public Radio News.
And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here on Monday to stay in touch with the news. Between now and then, check out BoiseStatePublicRadio.org or download the Boise State Public Radio app. Have a great weekend, and thanks for listening.
No matter what happens in Washington, the NPR Politics Podcast is here for you. For the latest news, insights, and analysis from the election and beyond, listen to the NPR Politics Podcast.